Commander Jake Morrison stared at the view screen and felt his stomach drop. The readings made no sense at all. His ship, the UES Horizon, had been on a simple survey mission near the Kepler 442 system when the sensors picked up something impossible. The energy signatures were unlike anything in their databases, and the size readings kept climbing higher and higher until the computer started showing error messages. Dr. Lisa Harper rushed onto the bridge with her tablet in hand. Her face was pale and her hands shook as she showed Jake the analysis results. The objects ahead were not asteroids or space debris. They were ships. Ships so large that calling them vessels seemed wrong. They were more like floating cities or small moons made of metal and strange materials. "How many are there?" Jake asked, as he watched the dark shapes appear on the main screen. Lisa checked her readings again. "At least 50 that we can detect. Maybe more hiding behind the others. Jake, these things are enormous. Our biggest battleships would look like toys next to them." The alien ships hung in space like sleeping giants. Their hulls were made of something that seemed to eat light itself. The sensors could barely get readings off the dark material. No energy signatures, no heat, no signs of life. They looked dead, but something about them made Jake feel uneasy. Sam Rodriguez, the ship's engineer, climbed up from the engine room. His uniform was covered in grease and his tools hung from his belt. "Commander, we're getting some weird readings from the quantum shields. They keep fluctuating like something is scanning them." Jake looked at the alien fleet again. "Are those ships active or not?" "Hard to say," Lisa replied. "The materials they're made from block most of our scans. But there's definitely something going on inside them. I'm picking up faint energy patterns deep within their hulls." The Horizon moved closer to the nearest alien vessel. Jake had seen big ships before, but this was different. The alien Dreadnought stretched across space like a metal mountain. Weapon ports the size of city blocks lined its hull. Strange symbols covered the dark surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Let's try to dock with it," Jake decided. "We need to know what we're dealing with." Lisa looked worried. "Are you sure that's wise? We have no idea what's inside those ships." "That's exactly why we need to find out," Jake said. "If these things are a threat to human colonies, we need to gather intelligence." The Horizon extended its docking tube toward the alien ship. The moment it made contact, everything changed. Lights blazed to life across the massive hull. The dead ship suddenly roared with power as ancient systems awakened from their long sleep. Energy readings spiked so high that the sensors shut down to protect themselves. The crew watched in horror as weapon ports opened along the alien vessel's hull. Each opening was big enough to fly the Horizon through. Strange energy began building inside the weapons as they turned toward the small human ship. Then the transmission came. The voice spoke perfect English with no accent or emotion. It sounded like death itself had learned to talk. "We are the vanguard of ending. Your species designation is primitive. Threat assessment is negligible. Termination protocol has been initiated." "What do they mean by termination protocol?" Sam whispered. Jake didn't get a chance to answer. The alien Dreadnought fired its weapons. Beams of energy that could destroy cities lanced out toward the Horizon. Jake expected to die in that moment. No ship could survive weapons that powerful. But the Horizon didn't die. Sam's experimental quantum shields flared to life around the ship. The alien weapons struck the shields and scattered into harmless light. The energy that should have vaporized them simply disappeared. On the alien ship, something changed. The weapons stopped firing. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the voice came again. But this time it sounded different. Confused. Defensive systems detected. Configuration unknown. Threat assessment requires updating. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "They've never seen quantum shields before. They didn't expect us to survive." More alien ships began activating around them. The space that had been dark and quiet moments before now blazed with hostile energy. Dozens of the massive vessels powered up their weapons and turned them toward the tiny human ship. "We need to get out of here," Sam said as he worked frantically at his controls. "The shields won't hold against all of them." Jake made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "No, we're not running. We're going to ram that weapon array and buy time for a message to reach Earth." Jake, that's suicide, Lisa protested. Maybe. But if we don't warn Earth about these things, every human colony will be destroyed. They need to know what's coming. The Horizon turned toward the alien Dreadnought's main weapon cluster. Jake pushed the engines to maximum power. Behind them, more alien ships fired their weapons. The quantum shields held for now, but they were weakening fast. Lisa ran to the communications station. I'm transmitting everything we've recorded. Energy signatures, ship configurations, weapon capabilities. If this data reaches Earth, maybe they can find a way to fight these things. The alien weapons struck the horizon again and again. The shields flickered and sparked. Hull plating began to buckle under the strain, but Sam's shields held just long enough. The horizon smashed into the alien weapon array at full speed. The impact tore both ships apart. Metal screamed and energy systems exploded in brilliant flashes. The crew was thrown around the bridge as the ship broke into pieces. Abandon ship, Jake ordered. Get to the escape pods. As the horizon died, around them, Lisa completed the data transmission. The message that would reach Earth contained everything they had learned about their attackers, the images of ships the size of moons, the weapons that could destroy planets, the voice that spoke of termination protocols and ending. But most importantly, the message contained proof that these aliens could be surprised. They had expected the horizon to die instantly, but human technology had confused them. That confusion might be the key to survival. The escape pods launched just as the alien Dreadnought's weapons finished charging again. The massive beam struck the wreckage of the horizon and turned it to vapor. But it was too late. The message was already racing toward Earth at faster than light speed. Jake watched from his escape pod as more alien ships powered up across the system. They were not just ships, he realized. They were a fleet. A fleet that had been sleeping in the darkness between stars, waiting for something to wake them up. And now they were awake and heading toward human space. Admiral Kate Sullivan stared at the message display in her office on Mars Central Command. She had watched the transmission from the horizon 3 times now, and each viewing made her feel sicker. The footage showed alien ships that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Ships that had destroyed the horizon with casual ease and were now moving toward human space. General Ryan Brooks entered her office without knocking. His face was grim and his uniform looked like he had been wearing it for days without sleep. Kate, we need to talk. The alien fleet isn't just moving toward our colonies. They're accelerating. Kate pulled up the tracking data on her main screen. How long do we have? Based on their current speed, they'll reach the outer colonies in 6 weeks. The core worlds, including Earth, have maybe 3 months. Ryan sat down heavily in the chair across from her desk. Kate, I've been in the military for 30 years. I've never seen weapons like the ones that destroyed the horizon. Dr. Alex Chen arrived at Central Command later that day. He was humanity's leading expert on theoretical warfare and had spent his career studying how to fight enemies that didn't exist yet. Now those enemies were real and heading straight for Earth. I've analyzed every second of the horizon's transmission, Alex told the emergency assembly. These aliens call themselves the hegemony of final silence. Based on their ship designs and weapon signatures, they've been doing this for a very long time. President Maria Gonzalez attended the meeting by secure video link from Earth. What do you mean by a very long time, Doctor? Alex pulled up images on the main display. Look at their hull designs. Those aren't battle scars from a few wars. Those are marks from thousands of battles across millions of years. The hegemony has been destroying civilizations since before humans learned to use fire. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. They weren't just facing an alien invasion. They were facing a force that had perfected the art of extinction over geological time periods. Then the aliens sent their ultimatum. Every human world received the transmission simultaneously. The message bypassed all security systems and appeared on every screen, every communication device, every display in human space. The same cold voice that had spoken to the horizon now addressed all of humanity. Species designation human. You have demonstrated unusual defensive capabilities. This interests us. You have 47 of your standard days to surrender your strongest warriors for study. Compliance will result in swift termination. Resistance will result in extended suffering. You have been warned. President Gonzalez called an emergency session of the United Earth Assembly. Representatives from every human colony and orbital station attended either in person or by quantum communication link. The debate lasted for hours, but the conclusion was never in doubt. Humanity will not surrender, the president announced to the galaxy. We will not send our people to be studied by creatures that call themselves the vanguard of ending. If they want to fight us, they will find that humans do not die quietly. But privately, the military leadership knew they faced impossible odds. The smallest ships in the alien fleet were larger than humanity's biggest battleships. The aliens had weapons that could crack planets and armor that seemed immune to human technology. Every simulation run by the war computers showed the same result: total human extinction within weeks of first contact. Dr. Alex Chen worked day and night trying to find some advantage humanity could use. The key seemed to be in the alien reaction to the Horizon's quantum shields. The weapons that should have instantly destroyed the human ship had been stopped by technology the aliens had never seen before. They expected us to die immediately, Alex explained to Admiral Sullivan. When we didn't, they actually seemed confused. That suggests their tactical systems are designed around fighting enemies that use predictable technology. What does that mean for us? Kate asked. It means we need to be unpredictable. The hegemony has spent millions of years learning to counter every type of warfare ever developed. But they've never fought humans before. Our chaotic, irrational approach to problem-solving might be the one thing they can't plan for. Across human space, ordinary people began preparing for the fight of their lives. Danny Walsh, a factory worker on New Geneva, organized his community to build improvised weapons from mining equipment. They couldn't build battleships, but they could turn industrial lasers into defensive batteries and cargo haulers into missile platforms. Emma Torres, a cargo pilot with 20 years of experience flying through asteroid fields, volunteered for the new Suicide Squadron program. The military was looking for pilots crazy enough to ram alien dreadnoughts with ships loaded with nuclear warheads. Emma figured she had been flying dangerous missions her whole life anyway. Ben Clark, a teacher on the frontier world of Haven's Rest, helped organize the evacuation of children to hidden colonies in systems the aliens hadn't discovered yet. He had taught human history for 15 years and knew that civilizations could survive almost anything if they protected their young people. The countdown clock in Central Command showed 39 days remaining when the first reports came in. The alien fleet had split up. Instead of attacking in one massive group, they were sending smaller forces to multiple human colonies simultaneously. The hegemony wasn't just planning to destroy humanity. They were planning to study human defensive capabilities by testing them against different types of attacks. They're treating us like a science experiment, Ryan Brooks said bitterly. They want to see how we react to different threats before they bring their full force to bear. But Alex Chen saw something else in the alien strategy. Look at how methodical they are. Everything they do follows a predictable pattern. They scan, they analyze, they categorize, then they attack with precisely the right amount of force to guarantee victory. So what happens when they encounter an enemy that doesn't follow any patterns at all? What happens when they face an opponent that makes decisions based on instinct, emotion, and pure human stubbornness instead of logical analysis? Kate Sullivan began to understand what Alex was suggesting. You want us to abandon standard military doctrine. I want us to embrace what makes us human. Our ability to be completely unpredictable. Our talent for finding solutions that shouldn't work but somehow do. Our gift for turning desperate situations into unexpected victories through sheer bloody-minded determination. The Chen Protocol, as it came to be known, was distributed to every military commander in human space. Instead of fighting the aliens, with conventional tactics, human forces would attack in ways that made no logical sense. They would retreat when they should advance, attack when they should defend, and use weapons in ways they were never designed for. The plan was insane, chaotic, and completely contrary to everything military science had learned over centuries of warfare. In other words, it was perfectly human. As the alien fleets approached the outer colonies, humanity prepared to show the galaxy what happened when an unstoppable force met a completely unpredictable object. The countdown continued, but now, human. Defenders waited with anticipation instead of just fear. They were about to teach the hegemony of Final Silence something new. The hegemony fleet arrived at New Geneva exactly when their calculations predicted they would. The alien dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons already charging as they scanned the human colony. 8 million people lived on New Geneva, making it one of the largest settlements outside the core worlds. Colonel Nick Parker watched the alien ships approach from his command bunker deep beneath the planet's surface. His orders were simple: implement the Chen protocol and make the aliens pay for every inch of space they claimed. Nick had been a soldier for 20 years, but everything he had learned about warfare was about to become useless. The first alien ship moved toward New Geneva's orbital defense platforms. The hegemony dreadnought was over 10 miles long and armed with weapons that could shatter continents. Against it, the humans had 12 defense satellites and a handful of patrol boats that looked like toys by comparison. In any normal battle, the outcome would have been decided in minutes. The alien ship would have destroyed the defenses and then begun bombarding the planet's surface. But this was not a normal battle. Instead of meeting the aliens in organized formations, the human defenders scattered in all directions. Captain Julia Martinez led a squadron of converted cargo haulers against the dreadnought's forward weapons array. Her ships moved in patterns that violated every rule of space combat, using gravity wells and debris fields in ways that made no tactical sense. The alien ship fired its main guns at the largest cluster of human vessels, but the cluster scattered at the last second, and the massive energy beam struck empty space. Before the alien weapons could recharge, small human ships swarmed around the dreadnought like angry bees, firing mining lasers and improvised missiles at seemingly random points on its hull. On the hegemony command deck, the alien commander struggled to understand what they were seeing. Their tactical computers had been programmed with the combat patterns of 1,000 extinct civilizations, but the humans weren't following any recognizable strategy at all. Target priority unclear, reported the alien tactical officer. Human vessels display no coordinated attack pattern, threat assessment systems unable to determine primary objectives. The hegemony commander studied the battle display. In their millions of years of warfare, they had never encountered defenders who seemed to be attacking at random. Implement Standard Suppression Pattern 7. Destroy the largest concentrations of enemy forces first. But there were no large concentrations to target. The human ships moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough for the alien weapons to lock onto them. Worse, they seemed to be attacking points on the dreadnought that had no strategic value. Mining lasers struck sensor arrays that weren't even important. Cargo ships rammed into secondary hull sections that contained nothing but storage compartments. Captain Tony Adams piloted his converted freighter toward the alien ship's main engine section. His cargo hold was loaded with every piece of explosive material the colonists could find, from mining charges to overloaded fusion reactors. The alien point defense systems tried to intercept him, but Adams flew his ship in a corkscrew pattern that somehow avoided every shot. "This is insane," his co-pilot muttered as weapons fire blazed around them. "We're flying straight into their heaviest guns." "That's exactly why they won't expect it," Adams replied. He had been hauling cargo through dangerous space for 15 years. He knew how to navigate through things that should have killed him. The freighter slammed into the alien engine section and exploded in a brilliant fireball. The dreadnought shuddered as secondary explosions rippled through its hull. For the first time in their recorded history, the hegemony had lost a major system to enemy action. But the real shock came when the human defenders did something completely unprecedented. Instead of pressing their advantage, they retreated. Every human ship in the system suddenly broke off their attacks and fled in different directions. The alien commanders watched in confusion as their enemies scattered to the four winds. Pursuit, course unclear. Human vessels fleeing on 17 different vectors, standard pursuit formations inadequate. While the hegemony tried to decide which human ships to chase, more defenders appeared from unexpected directions. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and behind moons suddenly emerged to attack the alien flanks. But these weren't coordinated strikes either. Each group of ships attacked different targets using completely different tactics. Some pilots flew their ships in tight formation like traditional fighter squadrons. Others spread out across hundreds of miles of space and attacked individually. A group of mining ships used their equipment to hurl asteroids at the alien vessels. A squadron of research ships fired scientific sensors at maximum power, flooding the alien ships with scanner radiation that interfered with their targeting systems. Danny Walsh led a group of factory workers in converted industrial platforms against one of the smaller alien ships. They had welded construction lasers onto cargo haulers and were using them like artillery. The lasers weren't designed for combat, but they were powerful enough to damage alien hull plating if fired at exactly the right angles. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy their ship," Danny told his people over the radio. "We just want to annoy them and make them waste ammunition shooting at us." The industrial platforms darted around the alien vessel, firing their improvised weapons at random intervals. The alien ship kept trying to target them with its main guns, but the platforms were too small and fast. Every shot missed, and the frustrated aliens began firing more and more frequently. Emma Torres commanded a suicide squadron of pilots who had volunteered for ramming attacks. But instead of flying straight at the alien ships, they approached from completely unpredictable angles. Some came from above, some from below, some spiraled in from the sides. The alien point defense systems couldn't track so many different approach vectors at once. One by one, the suicide ships struck their targets. Each impact caused relatively little damage to the massive alien vessels, but the psychological effect was enormous. The hegemony had never faced an enemy willing to deliberately sacrifice their ships and crews for minimal tactical advantage. Enemy behavior patterns outside acceptable parameters, the alien tactical computer reported. Recommend immediate withdrawal and analysis. But the hegemony commander refused to retreat. They had never been driven off by primitive technology, and they would not start now. Deploy all secondary vessels. Implement maximum firepower doctrine. The battle raged for 6 days. Wave after wave of human defenders threw themselves at the alien fleet using tactics that should never have worked. They flew cargo ships like fighters, used construction equipment as weapons, and turned civilian orbital platforms into improvised fortresses. Colonel Nick Parker coordinated the defense from his bunker, but he wasn't giving traditional military orders. Instead, he encouraged his people to follow their instincts and attack whatever targets looked vulnerable. "Don't think like soldiers," he told them. "Think like humans who are really, really angry." The strategy worked better than anyone had expected. The alien ships were designed to counter logical military tactics, but they couldn't adapt to pure human chaos. Every time the hegemony developed a counter to one human strategy, the defenders would switch to something completely different. Again, the 6th day, Captain Julia Martinez led the final assault. Her remaining ships, battered and barely functional, made one last desperate attack on the alien flagship. They flew in a formation that looked like a flower, with each ship following, a spiraling path that somehow avoided the alien weapons. The attack succeeded in ways Martinez never expected. Her ships didn't just damage the alien flagship, they rammed through its bridge section and killed the hegemony commander. The alien fleet, suddenly leaderless, began to retreat toward the edge of the system. New Geneva had fallen. The colony was in ruins and millions of people were dead. But for the first time in their existence, the hegemony had lost a dreadnought to enemy action. The massive alien ship drifted through space, its hull cracked and its systems failing. Dr. Alex Chen arrived with a salvage team within hours of the battle's end. What he found inside the alien wreckage would change everything humanity thought they knew about their enemies. The hegemony's primary fleet entered the Sol system like a moving constellation of death. Their flagship was larger than anything humanity had ever seen, a dreadnought the size of a small continent that blocked out stars as it moved through space. Behind it came hundreds of smaller vessels, each one still massive enough to destroy entire worlds. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the UES Defiance, and watched the alien armada approach Earth. He had been rescued from his escape pod months ago and given command of humanity's strangest warship. The Defiance was built from the wreckage of dozens of different vessels. Human ships, alien hulls, civilian craft, and military equipment all welded together into something that shouldn't have been able to fly. "Jake, are you sure this thing will hold together?" asked Dr. Lisa Harper, who had also survived the destruction of the Horizon and now served as the Defiance's science officer. Jake patted the wall of the bridge, which was made from the hull plating of a destroyed mining ship. "She's ugly, but she's ours, and she's about to be part of the greatest show in galactic history." President Maria Gonzalez had authorized humanity's final gamble, the Carnival fleet. Every ship in human space had been called to defend Earth, from massive battleships to tiny personal craft. They had all been painted in impossible colors and equipped with speakers that broadcast the sounds of human civilization, music, laughter, poetry, and the beautiful noise of a species that refused to die quietly. Admiral Kate Sullivan coordinated the defense from her command ship, but she wasn't giving traditional military orders. Instead, she encouraged her commanders to follow their hearts and fight like humans who had nothing left to lose. The alien fleet moved into Earth's orbital space with the confidence of creatures who had never been defeated. The hegemony had destroyed countless civilizations across millions of years. They expected this battle to be no different from all the others. They were wrong. The Carnival fleet attacked from every direction at once, but not with coordinated formations or strategic objectives. Instead, they came like a celebration of chaos itself. Ice cream trucks flew alongside battleships both armed with nuclear missiles and painted like rainbow explosions. Garbage haulers loaded with improvised bombs sang opera as they rammed into alien dreadnoughts. The hegemony flagship targeted what appeared to be the largest concentration of human forces, only to discover that it was actually a formation of cargo containers filled with glitter and equipped with loudspeakers playing children's songs. The alien weapons vaporized the decoy targets, filling space with billions of tiny reflective particles that interfered with their sensors. Captain Julia Martinez led a squadron of ships that had been welded together in impossible configurations. Her flagship looked like a metal flower with engines attached to each petal. The ship flew in spiraling patterns while broadcasting recordings of human babies laughing, a sound that seemed to physically disturb the alien crews. "Remember," Julia told her pilots, "we're not just fighting for Earth. We're showing the galaxy what it means to be beautifully, magnificently human." Her squadron attacked the alien formation while performing what looked like an aerial ballet. Ships danced around each other in patterns that followed musical rhythms instead of tactical doctrine. The hegemony computers tried to predict their movements, but couldn't process tactics based on artistic expression instead of military logic. Maya, Johnson's Chaos engines had been installed on hundreds of ships throughout the fleet. The randomized weapon systems fired in patterns that defied every law of physics and logic. Energy beams curved around gravity wells they shouldn't have been able to detect. Missiles changed course in mid-flight to attack targets their guidance systems had never been programmed to find. The battle reached its peak when the human fleet performed what would be remembered as the Dance of Defiance. Every ship in the Carnival fleet began moving in synchronized patterns that turned the entire battle into a massive work of performance art. They weren't just fighting the aliens, they were creating something beautiful while they destroyed their enemies. Dr. Lisa Harper had discovered the secret of the hegemony's weakness during her months of studying captured alien technology. "Their ships aren't just vessels," she told Jake over the ship's intercom. "They're living beings. Ancient artificial intelligences that have become obsessed with perfection through destruction. They see chaos as a disease that must be cured through extinction." The alien flagship, a creature older than human civilization, watched the Carnival fleet's performance and felt something it had never experienced before: confusion that bordered on terror. The humans weren't just fighting illogically. They were celebrating while they died. They turned their own destruction into art. Commander Jake Morrison made the decision that would end the war. "All ships, this is the Defiance. We're going to ram the alien flagship while broadcasting Earth's greatest achievement." "What achievement is that?" Lisa asked. Jake smiled as he activated the ship's speakers. Jazz fusion played by death metal musicians while children sing nursery rhymes. The Defiance accelerated toward the Hegemony flagship while playing the most chaotic, beautiful, impossible music humanity had ever created. The sound was a fusion of every musical tradition on Earth, performed simultaneously by musicians who should never have been able to play together. The alien flagship's ancient mind tried to process the audio assault and failed completely. The music contained patterns that followed no mathematical rules, emotions that couldn't be quantified, and beauty that existed purely for its own sake. The Hegemony intelligence, designed to understand and counter every form of logical warfare, simply couldn't comprehend art that celebrated chaos itself. The Defiance struck the alien flagship at maximum velocity. The impact tore through miles of alien hull plating and sent shockwaves through the massive vessel's systems. But the real damage was psychological. The flagship's consciousness, overwhelmed by humanity's magnificent insanity, shut down rather than try to process something so beautifully impossible. One by one, the other Hegemony ships stopped fighting. Their crews, connected to the flagship's mind through quantum communication networks, experienced the same overload. The alien fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years drifted powerless through Earth's orbital space. In the aftermath of the battle, humanity made a choice that would define them forever. Instead of destroying the helpless alien ships, they offered something the Hegemony had never encountered: mercy, friendship, and the chance to learn that chaos wasn't a disease to be cured, but a gift to be celebrated. Admiral Kate Sullivan broadcast. A message to the disabled alien fleet. We know you've spent millions of years destroying civilizations because you thought chaos was evil. But look what we've built with our chaos: music, art, laughter, love. We don't want to destroy you. We want to teach you how to create instead of destroy. The response came from the flagship itself. The ancient intelligence spoke with a voice that sounded different now, confused but curious instead of coldly hostile. We do not understand your warfare. You fight with joy instead of hatred. You create beauty while causing destruction. This is impossible according to all our calculations. That's the point, Kate replied. We're human. Impossible is what we do best. 5 years later, former Hegemony ships served alongside human vessels as exploration fleets. The ancient alien minds slowly learned to appreciate the strange beauty of unpredictability. They discovered that chaos wasn't something to be feared but something to be celebrated. The galaxy, once marked by the cold perfection of extinction, now echoed with the warm chaos of life. Human colonies spread to new worlds, bringing music, laughter, and the beautiful disorder of civilization to star systems that had been silent for millions of years. And in the deepest reaches of space, other ancient threats paused and reconsidered their plans. Word had spread through the darkness about the small mad species that had defeated the undefeatable by refusing to make sense. Some of these ancient powers decided to remain hidden, afraid of encountering enemies who fought with art instead of armies. Humanity had done more than survive their first contact with cosmic horror. They had taught the universe itself how to laugh, how to sing, and how to find hope in the beautiful chaos of existence. The war was over, but the real victory was just beginning. Dr. Alex Chen floated through the corridors of the captured Hegemony Dreadnought, wearing a full environmental suit. The alien ship was a maze of passages that seemed to go on forever, with walls made of the same dark material that absorbed light and sensor beams. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows that moved in ways that hurt his eyes to follow. This is incredible, Alex said into his radio as he studied the alien technology. Their systems are more advanced than anything we've ever seen, but they're also completely rigid. Every component is designed to work in one specific way with no room for adaptation. Admiral Kate Sullivan listened to his reports from the command ship orbiting the wreckage. What does that mean for us, Alex? It means the Hegemony has spent millions of years perfecting counters to every form of logical warfare, but they've never learned to deal with illogical warfare. Their computers can't process tactics that don't make sense. 6 months had passed since the Battle of New Geneva, and the war had spread across dozens of star systems. Humanity had developed a completely new form of combat that military historians were already calling the Madness Protocol. Instead of fighting like traditional armies, human forces attacked like inspired lunatics. Captain Luke Hayes commanded a squadron of converted mining ships in the Battle of Titan Station. His vessels had been painted in wild colors that confused, alien targeting systems and equipped with speakers that broadcast everything from death metal music to children's lullabies. The combination of visual and audio chaos made it nearly impossible for the hegemony computers to lock onto his ships. "Remember, people," Luke told his pilots over the radio, "we're not just fighting a war. We're putting on the galaxy's weirdest art performance." His ships attacked the alien fleet in a formation that looked like a dancing butterfly. The mining vessels swooped and spiraled around the hegemony dreadnoughts, firing their improvised weapons in patterns that followed the rhythm of the music they were broadcasting. The aliens tried to counter with logical defensive patterns, but logic didn't work against pure creative madness. Engineer Maya Johnson had developed something she called the Chaos Engine, a weapon system that randomized everything from firing patterns to flight paths. When hegemony ships tried to predict where human weapons would strike, they found themselves facing attacks that changed direction randomly in mid-flight. The beauty of the Chaos Engine, Maya explained to a group of military engineers, is that we don't know what it's going to do either. The randomness is so complete that even we can't predict our own tactics. The system worked by using quantum fluctuations to determine targeting and movement decisions. Every microsecond, the ship's computer would make thousands of random choices about speed, direction, and weapon selection. The result was a fighting style that looked like controlled insanity. Young pilot Chris Murphy volunteered for the most dangerous mission of the war, Project Pandora. The plan was to infiltrate a hegemony command ship using a vessel designed to look like space debris. His ship, the Fool's Gambit, was built from the wreckage of destroyed alien vessels and human technology. "Why are you volunteering for this?" Admiral Sullivan asked him during the briefing. Chris shrugged. "Someone has to do it, and I've always been good at getting into places I don't belong." The Fool's Gambit carried a weapon that shouldn't have worked. A computer virus written in poetry by programmer Ashley Turner. Ashley had spent weeks studying alien data systems and realized that the hegemony computers couldn't process information that was deliberately meaningless. "Their systems are designed to analyze and categorize everything they encounter," Ashley explained. "But poetry doesn't follow logical rules. It exists to create emotions and images that can't be quantified. When I feed poetic language into their computers, it creates processing loops that slow down their entire network." The virus was transmitted through the hegemony's own communication system. As it spread from ship to ship, the alien fleet began experiencing something they had no word for: confusion. Their targeting systems started missing obvious targets. Their navigation computers plotted courses that led nowhere. Their weapons fired at empty space while human ships attacked their blind spots. Chris Murphy's mission succeeded beyond all expectations. The Fool's Gambit not only infected the alien command ship, but also broadcast the virus to every hegemony vessel in the system. Within hours, the entire alien fleet was struggling with digital poetry that turned their perfect logic into beautiful. Chaos Admiral Kate Sullivan chose that moment to launch Operation Checkmate, the largest human offensive of the war. Every available ship in 3 star systems converged on the confused alien fleet. But this wasn't a traditional military assault. It was a coordinated expression of human madness. The attack formation looked like something from a dream. Ships flew in spirals and loops that defied physics. Some vessels attacked while flying backwards. Others fired their weapons while spinning like tops. The entire human fleet moved through space like a school of fish that had learned to dance. Captain Julia Martinez, now commanding a ship built from the parts of 6 different vessels, led her squadron in an attack pattern based on a children's game. Her ships played an enormous game of tag with the alien dreadnoughts, darting in to strike targets and then fleeing before the enemy could respond. "The key," Julia told her pilots, "is to remember that we're not trying to win a battle. We're trying to have fun while we destroy our enemies." Her squadron attacked while broadcasting recordings of human laughter. The sound seemed to disturb the alien crews even more than the weapons fire. Several hegemony ships actually stopped shooting and tried to analyze the laughter instead of defending themselves. The hegemony found themselves fighting an enemy that treated warfare like a game. Human ships performed impossible maneuvers that should have torn them apart but somehow didn't. Pilots laughed while they died. Entire squadrons sang songs while ramming into alien dreadnoughts. For creatures that had spent millions of years perfecting the science of destruction, the human approach to warfare was incomprehensible. The hegemony had developed counters to every logical strategy ever devised, but they had no defense against enemies who fought with joy instead of hatred. The battle reached its climax when the human fleet performed what would later be called the Symphony of Destruction. Every ship in the fleet coordinated their attacks to create a musical pattern. Weapons fired in rhythm, engines pulsed in harmony, and the explosions themselves seemed to dance to an unheard melody. The hegemony flagship, already struggling with Ashley Turner's poetry virus, couldn't process the sensory overload. Its ancient computer systems, designed to analyze and counter logical tactics, simply shut down when faced with music made from warfare itself. One by one, the alien ships began to retreat, not because they were damaged beyond repair, but because their crews could no longer understand what they were fighting. The humans had turned war itself into an art form, and the hegemony had no experience with enemies who created beauty while they destroyed. As the alien fleet withdrew, humanity realized they had discovered something more powerful than any weapon. They had learned that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers, it was their ability to be magnificently, impossibly human in the face of extinction. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the conflict began, human forces were winning.